my name is Jack DeGonda. This is my first year on the trip, and I guess I hadn't been to Mexico before. I've never been out of the country. I went to the British Virgin Islands with my dad once, so it was kind of a new experience for me. And I was asked to go on the trip by some of my friends that have gone on it. They're senior leaders this year. So I'm just going to talk about some experiences that I had and what I kind of learned from it. So first, the VBS day, like they talked about, was very special. We didn't get to participate in all of it. My group went around the town passing out care packages along with Zach's his Eagle project. So we basically went around on the back of like a flatbed truck. We were holding on to the top of it and riding and just going around town and passing around these care packages to different families and different people. And we saw a bunch of old ladies, and they were really cute. And it was really special just to see the people down there and the strength of community that they have with each other. And also with the VBS day, we kind of connected with that community because of our shared bond with God. And I thought that God's power to bring communities together was very powerful and important. And that was something that I kind of noticed. And then something that I also learned down there is that the people don't necessarily have the nicest things, but they do have the relationships that they share with each other are very strong. And I think that they value those relationships much more than, some people do up here. I think that they don't necessarily have the nicest things, like I said, but their relationships with each other are very strong. And also, this trip that we went on, we're not only helping these people by putting roofs on their houses, we're also helping all the people that went on the trip get impacted in different ways. And I know, at least for myself, I was able to see the importance of the Spanish language. I used to think it was I didn't really know. I didn't see a point in learning Spanish. I didn't like it in school too much, but now I kind of see that it's really important to be able to communicate with other people. And that I could communicate pretty marginally with my Spanish that I had, but it'd be a lot more important that I had some friends that could speak a lot better, and it was just important. That language barrier is definitely present. So, and then this final thing that I kind of want to talk about is that I think that everyone should be able to kind of have this experience that we had. I wish my brothers could have gone up. The things that you learn, the people that you see really just changes your perspective on I guess that area. I didn't really know much about it, but now I kind of take back. I realize that the people are strong. They have the same values. I guess everybody's important. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Gabby Lombard, and this was my second year on the Mexico mission trip. I saw God during the trip do something I never expected. So throughout the week, my group had a few complications, including scorpions. On the second night we were at camp, I stumbled upon a scorpion in one of the windowsills of our dorm. Me, being someone who's always been afraid of most bugs and creatures in general, I went running out to my group out of the dorm to explain what I had just encountered. Believe it or not, no one thought I was being serious at first. I got a lot of, dude, no ways. But then when they saw it for themselves, they were just as shocked as I was. Jorge, one of our masons on the trip, saved the day with his broomstick, but little did we know that wouldn't be the only time. The next morning, while we were getting ready for the workday, we heard one of our group members yelling, "Ow," over and over again. And we asked her what was wrong. She goes, "There's a scorpion in my shoe." There came Jorge to the rescue once again with his broomstick and dustpan on hand. As the week went on, I began to see our situation with the scorpions as a metaphor for the struggles we face in life and the way God helps us through them. When my group member was stung by a scorpion, she pushed through the pain and jumped right into the work site that day. We put a roof on the house of an 88-year-old woman who has lived in the same house her entire life and never had a secure roof over her head. We were able to answer her prayers and provide a roof for her and the next generation for her family. Jorge and his wife lost their son a long time ago and turned to God to help them heal and share their story with others. Our experience with the scorpions reminds me of the obstacles the people of Tuganda face every day and the faithfulness they continue to show through it. Whether it's as small as a scorpion or as great as not having a roof over our heads, with the help of God, we can conquer all our troubles in life. I'm very thankful for the way that God was there for me during this trip and reminded me that God works through every situation we find ourselves in, especially those that are unexpected. I can do all through Christ who strengthens me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ian Hamlin. I'm a freshman. This was my first time on the trip. Before this trip, I knew that I had never been out of the United States. I knew that the area that we were going in Mexico wasn't very wealthy. They didn't have a lot. But when we got to town where we'd be working and staying at, it really caught me off guard. There was maybe 2 finished roads, dogs everywhere, and it was just very different from Minnesota. So the first few days, I was almost shocked of the amount of difference that there was from where we live in Minnesota to where we were staying. And in reality, we weren't even that far away. I wondered how 2 countries could be almost opposite and still only be a 5 to 6 hour plane ride apart. The first couple days as we were working there, I noticed another thing. Everyone that we saw was happy. Everyone that was smiling. It seemed that there was no worries on their mind at all. Also, there was no crime whatsoever in Tuganda. And when we take a look at the areas in U.S. and see how many problems we have here, it seems like Tuganda would almost be the better place to live. No matter what you have, how much money you have, how much your house or your car costs, you have nothing without happiness and love. And even though the people in this town didn't have a lot of possessions, they still had their love and happiness. I think that's when I really saw God on this trip. They didn't care how much money they had. As long as they had their happiness, faith, and love, they were living their best life. We talked about this every night at small group, how happy these people were, and just how thankful they were to have what they had, and they didn't want anything else. That meant a lot to me, and I still can see every one of their smiles and how happy they were that we were there just to help them as much as we could. I'm just very humbled that I got this experience and this wonderful week with all these amazing people behind me. And I want to try to have the mindset and mood like the people that we met down in Tuganda, and I hope you guys choose to do the same. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Katia, and I'm just going to share a little bit about what this trip has done in my life. So last year I got on the plane to Cancun not knowing what to expect from this mission trip. There was no image in my head that could even come close to the experiences and the connections I made. This year I sat anticipating what God was going to show to me because at first I wasn't really sure. I didn't know what new things I was going to learn that I hadn't already seen or done before. But I felt like He just replaced these thoughts and reminded me that this trip is about the impact we are able to make by being His hands and feet. So when I arrived in Tuganda for the second and final time, I began to be shown what God was doing spiritually through everyone involved. On one night after a work day, Tom told us about a man from a house that we did, and the man said that the day it was completed was one of the most important days of his whole life, along with the day that he accepted Jesus as God of his life. This changed my heart completely. It became more real than ever to me, that us just deciding to give our time or our finances was nothing compared to the amazing things that God is able to do with it. I could no longer be so sad about it being my last year on this trip because I reached a point in my faith where I could just be still and know that He is God. When I looked at the ocean and how I couldn't see the end of it, I was reminded that His love for us is even bigger than that. And that just because we decided to say yes to a week-long high school trip or even being a sponsor and supplying materials, that He was able to use all of us to change actual lives so that the people of that community would remember that God changed their lives. And that the 2 best days of that man's life were both days that God moved and surpassed their expectations. And for us, we are continually blessed by not only adding an amazing chapter to our stories and testimonies, but by the connections we were able to make with each other when we just separated ourselves from all the extra stresses in our lives. That extra stuff is what God wants us to let go so that we can focus on Him and build a relationship with Him. Everyone on this trip has been able to see what God does when we remove all that extra and serve Him and love each other. To this congregation, I want you all to know how much this mission has done in my life and in my friends and family's lives, and in the people of the community of Shubenat every single year. And I just hope and pray that it will continue to make this impact for many years to come. Thank you.